Hey, I'm Kerry Grinkmeyer. Nita and I are up in Indianapolis, Indiana. This is where we both grew up, where we went to high school. I went to college up the road at Ball State. And I thought about doing my retirement video on something like travel in Indianapolis and how the city has changed. But then I got to thinking, what is it that most of my audience really is interested in as a retired person? One of the questions I think I get most often is, I've got a 401k or a 403b and I'm rolling it over into an IRA. Where should I invest it? And I think the conventional wisdom for retirees is put it in mutual funds or give it to a financial advisor and invest in a diversified portfolio, something like the S&P 500, and just let it ride. Well, I'm 76 years old. I'm a retired financial advisor, and there's no way in hell I'd do either one of those things. So what I thought I would do was then share my knowledge, my wisdom, my thinking as to if I were 65 and I was getting my 401k, where would I put it? Well, if I would give it some thought, I would say, well, if I had been retiring in 1990, where would I have liked to have put it? Well, I think the answer to your question would be, well, I wished I would have put it in Microsoft or Apple. What if it was 2000? Where would you have wanted to put it? Well, maybe I would have liked to put it in Amazon. What if it was 2010? Well, possibly Facebook. Well, it's neither one of those. It's 2021. And what are the common circumstances that those three eras had, those three decades had? And I would tell you they are all three involved in change. And we are again involved in change. And so with that in mind, I want to invest in the change. What is the change? Well, it happened 15 months ago. It was called the coronavirus, the pandemic. Every night Lester Holt comes on TV and screams at you that the world is changing and it has to do with the coronavirus. Okay, back in 1990, if it wasn't Lester Holt, it was someone else was screaming to you about the World Wide Web, which turned into the internet. And then back in 2010, it was all about social media. Well, these are the cues as to where you should be investing your money. Not in a mutual fund that is diversified. No, invest in the change. Invest in the assets that are going to grow substantially over the next decade. And that is facilitated by what happened 15 months ago, the coronavirus. We woke up in our world and said, our healthcare system is broken. We have a virus, a pandemic that is going through our society like on butter, and it's overwhelming us. We aren't prepared for it. Well, what happens when something happens to you you aren't prepared for? What happens in your life? You change. You change your delivery system. You take every bit of technology that you have in your house and every bit of skill that you have, and you make a change. Well, that's what's happening in the healthcare system. So what I would say to you is find out who the companies are that are going to facilitate this change. Also recognize there's another area we became aware of that we need change, and that is our supply system is broken. We couldn't get anything from washers and dryers to masks to wear to get us through the last 15 months. We couldn't get lumber because our supply chain was broken. Not so much lumber as washers and dryers and furniture and electronics and semiconductors. Our supply chain is broken. So what does that mean to you as an investor? What does that mean to you who has a 401k that is going into an IRA and needs to invest? Find the company that's going to facilitate the change and invest in that. Not a mutual fund, not a diversified, invest in the change. That is, in my portfolio, the supply chain question is being fulfilled with 3D printing. We lost our manufacturing to China and Mexico and Vietnam because of cheap labor. Well, with 3D printing, you don't have labor. You have a machine that you turn on at 7 o'clock in the morning, and then you come back a week later and turn it off and clean it up, and it just keeps making out parts for you. Yeah, you have a technician that has to run it, but it's going to bring manufacturing back to the United States. We have a pandemic. We have a need for new drugs, new vaccines, this is all within the drug discovery industry. And that goes into genome sequencing and genome editing and protein sequencing and protein editing and artificial intelligence used in discovery. These are all things that if you want the Amazon of, what would it be, 1994? Or if you want the Microsoft of 1990, that's where you're going to find it today. Come over to my other channel, Best of Us Investors, and I'll tell you about what I think the change opportunities are. Right now, today, 3D printing, biotech. So my answer to your question, where should I invest? Well, what is it? First of all, I guess I would ask you, what is it you want and what is it you need? If you want and need an 8% return on your investment, well, then put it in the S&P 500 and just buy an ETF in the S&P 500. If you want something a little bit more aggressive, but you don't want to choose the stocks, go to Kathy Wood's ARK funds. She has a number of funds that specialize in disruption and technology, and let her manage them for you, okay? That would be or if you want to actively get involved in this, go read some books. Go down into the description. I tell you the first book you need to read is The Accidental Superpower by Peter Zion. It'll give you an idea of how we got to where we are today and what's going to happen in the future as a result of demographics, of geopolitical situations. It's going to explain to you how all 75% of the gold ended up in the United States as a result of World War II. It's going to explain to you how we came off of the gold system in 1977 and started just printing money at will in order to feed war. Well, that's where we are right now. We just passed another $1 trillion bill. Well, we started this in 2020, and our national debt went from 20 trillion to 28 trillion in 12 months as we pumped money. Well, where did that money go? It went to the stock market. It went to the S&P 500. If you knew what the next Amazon and the next Microsoft is, does your need, does your desire, does your will want to invest in that? Or would you rather just get your 8%, which you'll easily get in the S&P 500 if you'll have a cash reserve so you don't have to come and rate it for any 2-year period? That's the way to invest. But put it in a mutual fund? I don't think so. That's what I did when I was a financial advisor. I don't do that anymore. I know better. I know that my world is driven by change. Up until March the 24th, 2000, the biggest change in my life, I was a bump in my mother's belly, was World War II. It changed our world. But a bigger change is coming as a result of the coronavirus. And I want you to recognize that. And I want you, if you so desire, as a retiree, to invest in it. And you will reap rewards that you can't imagine. I just want you to know. What I tell the people over on my investment channel is, look at your automobile. If it's newer than 2016, when it's sick, what does it do? It tells you to come to the shop. It tells you, I'm broken, I have a problem. You get a notification from your dealer and says, we have a recall. There's something going on in your body, and we know that, or in your car, and we know that because we monitor every one of those cars that we put out. And we know your car compared to them. Well, that's what's going to happen in your body. In the not too distant future, you'll get a recall through your phone. Your phone will come and tell you, because we're monitoring your body. You're going to have a smart toilet. You're going to have a smart mirror. You're going to have a smartphone that basically monitors your body. I got a smart watch. My body is already being monitored. So that's what's happening. So the long, short answer of your question, where should I invest the money out of my 401k into an IRA? You tell me, what is it you want? What is it you desire? Last year, my return was, let's see, in 19 it was 20%, in 20 it was 60%, and this year I'm projecting it'll be 40%. That's 40% return on my investment. Now, if 8% is good for you, put it in the S&P 500. All right, that's my take. That's my video from here in beautiful Indianapolis. Let me see, I'll show you a picture of the sun coming up. It'll go dark on you there, but that's our beautiful Indianapolis skyline that has evolved over the years, and White River. And this is a good thing. This is an interesting thing. Talk about change. The White River, when I was a senior in high school, this was a sewer. This was where everybody dumped everything they don't want. Now it is the center of the cultural part of Indianapolis, Indiana. So that's my take on the world we live in today, and where I think you should be investing your money as a senior citizen, because you deserve more than 8%. You deserve more than putting it in bonds and maybe getting 3 to 5% or dividend stocks. If that works for you, great. But I want to leave more for my heirs. Okay, I'll talk to you again sometime later in the week. I'll find something else to talk about here in Indianapolis.